Turns the key as she unlocks the door. Sodium lights break through the curtains, barricading countenance. Takes a step out of her coat, falls to the floor as she listens to the machine. All the calls she would have screamed if she'd been home. Hears his voice and it makes her smile. To herself she thinks, man, I should really clean this place up a bit. He'll be coming over in a while, and when he does, I won't feel like doing anything else tonight but being near him. Turns the key and he unlocks the door. Here's the beep 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 of the answering machine. He goes ahead, he throws his coat down on the floor. She said his tag, you're in. Please come over in a bit. I miss you so. All she said is tag, you're in. Please come over in a bit. I miss you.
Hey, my friends. Welcome back to Robb Radio. And you were just listening to a little cut off of Everything Is Nothing, and that was called Miss You Baby. You know, the whole point of why I wrote that song was because I thought, this was before I got married, before I'd even really started dating my wife, and I just thought how cool it would be if when people got married they could just have two houses, and that way they'd actually miss each other and they'd want to come over. You know, it seemed like it made sense to me because whenever I was dating people, I'd miss seeing them. I'd be like, yeah, I want you to come over. And so that's what that song is all about. And now that I have been married for 16 years, I can say we definitely should have two houses because we have too much stuff. She's got too many clothes, I've got too many guitars. It's definitely one of those things where let's just say my brilliant idea was before its time. That's all. She would love to have another house. But here's the thing is we would desperately miss each other if we did. So we stick together. All right. Speaking of marriage, whenever I went into marriage, I was the tender age of 28, which may sound really old to some people because I know some people get married 10 years earlier than that. But I could not have gotten married earlier than that because I simply did not have the wisdom. And even now, I'm not saying I have it, but at least I know I need it. Things about marriage that surprised me. I thought marriage was going to be the solve all. My wife and I rarely fought whenever we were dating. Oh, there's my Molly dog. My wife and I rarely fought. And so we had a great time when it was just we were dating. It was fantastic, but I think nothing really prepares you for what marriage does to a relationship. Suddenly you're living together, whereas you were living apart. Suddenly you are surrounded by this person whenever they are sick or whenever you are sick, and you realize that they have some habits that you did not know you were marrying into. For example, you did not know that their laundry is going to be all over the floor. And you can hear little feet prints occasionally. Oh, hello, Molly. Yes, what a good girl you are. So you didn't know that the laundry is going to be everywhere. She didn't know that you were going to leave all the dishes piled up in the sink, and that whether you cook or whether you went out or whatever. She didn't know this, she didn't know that, you didn't know. So there's a lot of reasons we get involved in a marriage, and suddenly we start feeling trapped. And I say we because everybody that I've talked to who was open and honest about it, at some time or another, felt kind of trapped in their marriage. And then suddenly something else happens. The things that used to be alluring and appealing and attractive, it's not that they're not alluring, appealing, and attractive anymore, but now it takes more. It's kind of like whenever you get the hit of the same drug, caffeine, for example, over and over again. And now it takes a little more caffeine. It's not just that one shot. Now it's a double shot. Now it's a triple shot. Now it's a triple shot in espresso. Now it's two. So I think, and I don't drink coffee, so I'm just, that sounded like something some coffee drinker would say. I think though what we forget is, and what I personally have in studying our 16 years of marriage, what I forget is that we are different people, and that's okay. We each have our strengths and we have our weaknesses, and the people who tend to get along the most are the ones who share similar strengths and similar weaknesses. However, here's the trick, right? The ones who tend to stick it out over the long time are the ones who are not, they don't share strengths and weaknesses. They're not identical in their strengths and weaknesses. Now, let me just give you some examples of this in my marriage. My wife is great at analyzing data. She can take a look at it and it makes sense to her. She can read instructions and follow them, and she delights in that, and she's excellent at it. I look at instructions and I'm like, yeah, I look at instructions if I have to. If I couldn't put together myself, if I couldn't figure it out by myself, then I'll go back and read the instructions. But most likely, I'll read them out of order, also trying to skim ahead and just take care of it. I'm better at realizing what's going on in a situation. I'm better when it comes to talking about feelings, emotions, those kind of things. For me, that's second nature. For her, empirical data, boom, she's on it. If it makes sense to the analytical mind, she has already got it. And so this can be a source of angst between the two of us, because she doesn't understand why I don't just read the instructions, and I don't understand why she can't just walk into a room and understand what everybody's feeling and thinking. So we had to find this out, that her strengths play to my weaknesses, and my strengths play to her weaknesses. And so, unsurprisingly, God put us together. Now, so I was reading an article the other day, and I found someone said, if you look at people who share the same strengths and share the same weaknesses, their strengths, they can push each other to go further and further, which is amazing and beautiful. And it's hard not to envy somebody whose spouse is constantly pushing them further and further to go to the next level. They're really cool. However, their weaknesses, if they share the same weaknesses, they likened it to dogs licking their own wounds and other people's, other dogs' wounds. It won't ever heal. So some of these things that we are not, for the ones that do share weaknesses, like say, for example, a person is a hypochondriac. Well, if you're in a relationship with another hypochondriac, that would be horrible. You would constantly both be worried about about everything, about what's out there, what's in there, what's this bump, what's that, and you need to have one person who's like, yeah, that's nothing, don't worry about it, or yeah, go get it checked out, no big deal. But that's not always the case. And whenever you have someone who, and I'm just using that, it could be financial. You could say, if you had two people who weren't good with their money and who were spending without a budget, and neither one of them wanted to budget, well, then you would have a recipe for disaster, a recipe for debt. And one thing that can kill the romance in a marriage faster than anything else is debt. People fight about kids, debt, and that's one thing I will say. Kids is not a solvent, in any way. It's not a solvent for relationship problems or even a marriage problem. Instead, it is a compounding of more problems to come. I would tell the people who were about to get married, maybe some marriage advice. Here we go. First of all, is this really the person that you want to spend the rest of your life fighting with? Because it's till death do us part. And I've been privy to a lot of marriages thanks to my job. And I've seen a lot of people stand at the altar and make serious promises. I mean, violently serious promises, vows that they would have and to hold in sickness and in health, till death do us part. And then within a year, after a few fights, they give up and it's over with. My wife and I, we have listened to We went to pre-marriage counseling. That was part of the whole thing before our pastor would marry us. He wanted us to go through pre-marriage counseling, which I was very grateful for. And then we went through counseling after the first few months of being married, because it's a different animal. Whenever your car's acting up, you're not just like, I'm just going to drive this sucker until the wheels come off. No, you're like, I think I need to take this in and get it looked at. That's exactly what marriage counseling is. And it was beneficial. We learned some things about each other. We learned some things about how to talk to each other, and how to listen to each other, and how to show respect to each other. And then down the road, after we had kids, we went back in and got that car tuned up and fixed up again. And it's really valuable. Be cautious with whom you choose to have your counseling with, because you want to have people who legitimately know what they're doing and have helped others in that area. But my thought is this: there's no shame in pre-marriage counseling. There's no shame in mid-marriage counseling. And after that, things started to finally change to this real congenial, happy, contented marriage between the two of us. Now, of course, if she tells you otherwise, you guys better tell me that, because from what I know, last time we talked, everything was really great. But I do lament for people who give up after the first year, because there's crap. There's just a ton of crap that we have to endure as young married couples. We have to stretch and grow, and those growing pains, they hurt. Anybody who's ever woke up in the middle of the night with their legs hurting whenever you were in adolescence phase, and it hurts to grow, and it hurts to grow together, even though you become one flesh with a ceremony, but you become one flesh as you allow yourself to grow together. And sometimes that that stitching together, that sewing together, that I go deeper than that. The DNA of who you are becomes one. It's not always easy. So don't give up just because you get a little tired of a person. Don't give up because you get a little frustrated with a person. There are people. Chances are that person gets frustrated with you too. We always like to. One of my favorite Bible verses is in Micah 6:8, the Old Testament, and it says, "What does the Lord require of you, O man?" And the answer is to act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. And I really feel like the entire Bible can be summed up in Micah 6:8, to act justly. So just do what's right. Just do what's right in your marriage. Just do what's right. And sometimes that's different things. Thankfully, we have a Holy Spirit. We can say, what am I supposed to do right here? And sometimes the Holy Spirit's like, do the dishes. All right, so I do the dishes. And then she comes home and she starts crying because I did the dishes. Because she didn't want to do it. And she was thinking about, God, when I get home, I do all the dishes. Sometimes the Holy Spirit is just like, all you have to do is be quiet here. Just listen to her. Just listen. And so I just listen. And I guarantee you that she's the same thing. Sometimes the Holy Spirit's just like, he just needs to talk. Just let him talk. But instead, men, we like to fix things. If we don't listen to God in the time whenever we're just supposed to listen, and then we end up trying to fix our wives' problems, well, fixing it may not be what she's about. She may just be about needing to verbalize it and talk about it in a way that helps alleviate pressure from her soul. So I would always say, be attentive to the living God that resides inside you. If you are a believer, then be attentive to that. And if you're not a believer, you're probably going to call what you hear intuition, or you're going to call it hopefully common sense. But either way, when you know you're supposed to do something, then do something. And my encouragement for young couples is that don't be afraid to reach out to older couples who are doing it successfully. Not the ones who seem like they're doing it successfully, but the ones who are actually doing it successfully. Reach out to them and ask for help, because they want to help you. They've been where you are, and they want to make sure that you're going to survive. And surviving is not something we do alone. Let me say that. What's the difference between surviving and thriving? You see, you can survive alone. You can survive by just paddling water. But if you want to get somewhere, you have to learn how to swim. And for that, you might need a teacher. You might need a lifeboat. Depends on where you are in your marriage. So don't be ashamed to reach out and ask for help. There's no shame in that, my friends. All right, how about some music? This is Robb Radio. I talk too much. I'm going to let my dog out. Let me choose a song for you. One of my favorite bands of all time, U2, with one of their strangest songs off their strangest album, in my opinion, one of their strangest albums, Zooropa. When this came out, I'll be honest, I didn't get it. I wanted to get it, but I didn't get it. I thought that they kind of turned their back and betrayed what they had done with Achtung Baby. The album that came out, of course, the Joshua Tree was a huge. Did I say Twee? The Joshua Tree was a huge success for U2, and they toured on it, then released Rattle and Hum, which was a great live touring album, and then they came back and they're like, you know what? We can just copy this same thing over and over again and keep churning out the exact same hits everybody expects us to, or we can go away and dream it up all over again, which is what they did. They ended up in Berlin. And they were probably going through, I think, their 30s at the time. And they, in your 30s, you start like, man, I can't just do the same thing I did in my 20s. I got to do this different. I really respect the fact that they took a chance and they went out there and they came out with Achtung Baby, which was whenever I was graduating, 91, 92. So it was a pivotal album for me. Songs like One and Even Better Than the Real Thing. Acrobat, which I just got to see them play live for the first time ever in Tulsa. The first time they ever played it live during a concert. So that was kind of a treasure. Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses? I mean, every song on the album, in my opinion, is a single. But then Zooropa came out. I'm like, guys, you went too far. You lost me. I don't know what you're talking about. You're speaking German. You're speaking in riddles. And it had songs, I think, Stay Far Away So Close. And I'm trying to remember some more songs that were on Zooropa. I think, was Nam on Zooropa? I think so. That was the single. And it was a confusing time in my life anyway. Sometimes that just makes it that much more confusing. But here's the thing. As I'm older and as I'm a musician who likes to try new things and not be stuck to the old way of doing things over and over again, I really admire Zooropa. And then, of course, they went to pop after that, and pop is just a crap album. I'm kidding. I know I'm going to get flack for that if anybody actually listens to this. Some people love pop. I know Chris Kalo, the guy I record with, and a good friend of mine, just loves pop, but I cannot. I can't get into it. You know, like one of the lines in Discotheque is, you know you're chewing bubble gum, you know what it is, but you still want some. You just can't get enough of that lovey-dovey stuff. It's like, this is the people who wrote With or Without You. This is the people who wrote Streets Have No Name, Running to Stand Still, just Heartland, all these amazing lyrics poured out, and now it's like, oh, you know, and maybe that was just, again, they're entering their 40s, and they needed to release, and they needed just to be fun, and now that I'm entering my 40s, and I'm like, yeah, I dig what you're saying, you know, it's sometimes it's good to break the mold. And then they came back with their album. I say come back. They moved forward to the point where they could reach back and not feel like they were betraying their idea of the band, which was the album was Walk On, and that was a killer album. And then how to dismantle an atomic bomb is probably one of my favorite. I have the vinyl record for it. I had it sitting up by my computer for the longest time. And that is a great album. And then what happened after that? No Line on the Horizon, was it? I forget. But, you know, they're not afraid to take risks. And I think if you're going to be a musician, heck, if you're going to be alive, you need to take risk. And I don't mean, like, go skydiving 6 days out of the week. I'm saying take calculated risk and find out the life that you want to live, and then point your cannon of opportunity and potential, and then go and then shoot that direction. Don't be afraid to just, you know, don't put yourself out in several different ways whenever you know the way you really want to go, the way you really know you're supposed to go. Just go that direction. All right. So the next version of the song, actually the next song I'm going to play, let's play some YouTube songs here. We'll see if I've got some bootleg stuff, so we'll play it so YouTube won't give me crap about it. Here's
shore tells the next one there'll be one more, and every gambler knows that to lose is what you're really there for. Summer hours fearlessness, now I speak into an answer phone, like every falling leaf on the breeze. Winter wouldn't leave it alone. If you go your way and I'll go mine, are we so helpless against the tide? Baby, every dog on the street knows that we're in love with defeat. Are we ready to be swept off our feet and stop chasing every breaking wave? Every sailor knows that the sea is a friend made enemy, and Every shipwrecked soul knows what it is to live without intimacy. I thought I had the captain's voice, but it's hard to listen while you preach. Like every broken wave on the shore, this is as far as I could reach. If you go, your way and I'll go mine, are we so helpless against the tide? Baby, every dog on the street knows that we're in love with defeat. Are we ready to be swept off our feet and stop chasing every breaking wave? The sea knows all the rocks drowning is nothing. You know what my heart is, same place that yours has been. We know that we fear to win, so we am before we begin. Before we begin, if you go your way and I'll go mine, are we so helpless against the tide? Baby, every dog on the street knows that we're in love with defeat. Are we ready to be swept off our feet and stop chasing every breaking wave?
Still one of the greatest bands in the world, U2. Am I being biased when I say that? I don't know. I can't think of many bands that have changed the world in the way that U2 has. They stepped outside, their social, economic, looking after their own welfare and then looking into others and trying to make the world a better place. A lot of respect for those guys. All right. Well, I think that's all we're going to talk about. So we talked about marriage, we talked about U2, and we talked about what we're going to talk about next time, which is, I don't know, because it's a surprise each time. I do hope you enjoy, and I hope that you will spread it, and I hope that you will spread it like butter. I hope that you'll bring a friend next time, and I hope that you'll hang out with me here at Robb Radio. And if you are interested in subscribing, then I believe, as the children say, smash the subscribe button and ring the bell so that you'll get notifications every time I release a new video. Thank you so much for being a part of Robb Radio, and I will check you on the flip side.